Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm fresh off homework on the Utah Jazz, and I wanted to just capture some thoughts in real time because some of the stuff I just looked at, I may forget. But there's two things we definitely need to understand about the Utah Jazz. One, the old guys that we just traded away, Juan Toscano-Anderson and Damian Jones, they combined for 9 offensive rebounds in the previous game they just had today against whoever that was, Denver Nuggets. They played their entire starters, by the way. And this is what they did to them: 17 offensive rebounds as a team, 9 from the guys we traded away. Now, that's not particular in regards to pointing out that they were ex-Lakers. It's just a thing that they're playing so well at this time, and we need to be aware that giving up second chance points to this team could definitely cost us. And they're hot right now in that regard. The second thing we need to understand right now is Chris Dunn is playing crazy great right now. These last 2 games, he has been playing some of the best basketball imaginable. Against the OKC Thunder, he went 9 of 10. And in this last game, his numbers were just like crazy. He had like 15, 14, and 8, some crazy stuff like that. But he went absolutely nuts. We have to understand what type of stretch he's on right now. Tomorrow's the last game of the season. He is most definitely going to be a part of the game tomorrow. I don't know who all they're going to play. They've been sitting THT for the last couple of games. I'm pretty sure they're probably going to just let that be the case tomorrow. But the guys that they're running out there, they are playing well. And like I said, they just beat the Denver Nuggets starters today. And the Denver Nuggets starters were definitely trying. Jokic was on the floor. Porter, all of Murray. They ran them boys out of there. And, this Jazz team told us last week what type of team they are. They really score very fast. And we saw that in the highlights of both of the games they've played since. Now, the OKC highlights, I will admit, I was only half watching. I didn't revisit the game, but I know OKC won by double digits. It was just a lot of SGA and Giddey out there just going crazy, doing a bunch of everything. So the Jazz really ran their second unit out there, and you know how it goes. They did the best they could, but OKC was able to take over and run out of there. But this Jazz game, that was an eye-opener for me. Now, granted, just like we were headed after the game into the Clipper game, it was a back-to-back, so we didn't have the energy. So that may be the case for the young Jazz tomorrow. End of the season, it's over with for everybody, so they're pretty much ready to go, to Hawaii or whatever. So at this point, I would imagine the Jazz aren't going to be overly enthused about trying to just play their best game or something like it's a playoff game for them. But at the same time, they may want to play spoiler against us. Now, of course, we need some things to happen in order for us to move up. Obviously, we're asking for the Golden State Warriors to please drop this game against the Portland Trail Blazers so that we can get that 6th spot, but we don't think that that's very likely. We would still have to beat the Jazz in order for that to be solidified anyway. Now, there are a couple scenarios where we end up moving into the 8th spot, I believe that is, but we can't go no lower than that. And, it's just a really strange thing that the NBA is doing tomorrow. They got half of the games being played at 10 o'clock, and then the other half of this game slated to be played at 12:30, and they are both interconference only matchups. It's very strange stuff, but I have an idea it has something to do with them knowing that seeding was going to be so tight at the end of the season, so they wanted to kind of have everything understood and solidified at the same time to keep teams from jumping around and tanking and doing all types of weird stuff that would ultimately end up like Dallas did, basically waiting to the last minute to say, okay, it makes sense to just tank. I think they're trying to kind of eliminate the possibility of a lot of different things like that. But that's just my theory. At the end of the day, I know the NBA has definitely never done this before, and I'm kind of curious to see what it is that what it looks like tomorrow, because it's almost like the NFL does, where they have the 2 slated matchups, one at 10 a.m. and then the next one's at 1:30 or whatever the heck it may be. That's one of those situations where it's like, are they mirroring the NFL? And if so, is this something we can expect them to do more so rather than just the end of the game season? Are they experimenting with something that maybe they want to keep permanent? So that's my curiosity about what they're doing here. But I do think it's interesting. I'm not completely against it. I think it's actually kind of fascinating. But we'll see tomorrow. All the games at 10 and 12:30. Our game happens to be at 12:30. And, of course, it'll be here in LA, Crypto.com Arena. And, like I said, the Jazz they just played us 3 games ago. We saw how it went. It came down to one shot where THT wasn't able to make a jumper. And we were happy with the contest, happy we were able to get the win. But if you listen to me, I wasn't happy at all. And I don't think I've been very happy since. The Lakers have just been playing bad basketball pretty much through that game and ever since. But we've managed to kind of win basketball games in that process and have been 2-1 since. But you consider how the Lakers have played. Our defense has waned dramatically. Some of what it is that we ultimately want to see from our team just in general hadn't been very good. But we did get some very good play out of Austin Reeves, 6 threes out of D'Angelo Russell. And, of course, we were able to get some good play out of Malik Beasley, which was a welcome sight because, he had been in a slump for a little bit, and we had complained a lot about how he had been used out there. But when you add that to Anthony Davis and him getting in the 20s in regards to rebounds and still chipping in 3 blocks, we just feel pretty good that ultimately, if we put it all together, we can still do damage in the playoffs and definitely get ourselves out of the play-in tournament if we fall to this 7th seed, which does look likely. So, what we have right now is Bron listed as questionable. Again, I want to let everybody know that I'm doing this the night before, but I'm just kind of considering this the pregame for the Utah Jazz because ultimately that game is so early. I just figured I might as well do homework tonight since it's only a couple games to watch highlights on. So we will be dealing with, what looks like a lot of players questionable tomorrow. Bron, AD, D'Lo, Schroeder, all listed as questionable. I think D'Lo's actually listed as probable, but a lot of things can change overnight, of course. But really it has a lot to do with just what the Lakers decide they want to do. Of course, the Warriors and the Blazer game is at the same exact time as ours. So basically we're just going to have to go in blind and keep an eye on the score, I guess. I don't know how they want to do that as it pertains to the necessary need to play our starters and how hard we should go in regards to the importance of this particular matchup. If we know for a fact that we've solidified whatever seeding, we have to pull our starters just like Dallas did, just to keep our health and preserve ourselves. It makes sense to do so, in my opinion. But if we know that game is, obviously going our way, we have to win. In that case, we can skip the play-in tournament entirely, and the importance of winning this game is just overwhelming. So you're weighing health versus the importance of seeding and what that seeding can do for health as well. It's a really unique situation, but ultimately we still need the Golden State Warriors to lose to a team that, quite honestly, they don't look like that's not even in the cards unless they decide to sit Steph Curry, as to which they shouldn't, because they're fighting for seeding. So they'll have their starters out there. Portland's got Watford and those guys out there, so it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. But basketballs have to go in the air, and then from there we'll see what happens, and hopefully things work out in the Lakers' favor. In the best case scenario, we'll just get that 6th seed and then end up playing a very deep Sacramento Kings team, which I secretly would like to avoid in the first round, to be honest with you. But I'd also kind of like to avoid Memphis too. So it looks like we're going to see one of those 2 teams, and that's just what it is if we're lucky enough to get out of the play-in tournament unscathed. And so that's what we're looking at, man. I'm fairly optimistic that this team is going to be able to overcome whatever roster choices his coach makes. Hopefully we'll put some size on the floor and some things that make sense, and we'll run out there and see us beat the Utah Jazz, a team that just almost beat us and really knocked us around in such a way that didn't allow us to beat the Clippers. But, it is what it is. We've won a game since then, even though it wasn't pretty itself, against the Phoenix Suns bench, and we've been made fun of a lot. I looked on Instagram, saw in the Lakers comments as we were celebrating Austin Reeves. Some of the Suns fans were in there talking about how their fans, how their bench basically just, beat our starters. And even though we were able to win the game, they know if they would have had KD out there and Booker and all those guys, it would have been a different story. And you know, we can listen to that and believe that and run with that if they, and, we can all agree that the Lakers probably would have had a different game if we would have tried to run the same stuff against Booker. But at the end of the day, we got the victory, and that's really all that matters. When it comes down to it, you lost, Suns fans. So we'll take the win however it comes. And at this point, we just have to try to do the same thing to the Utah Jazz at home. At the end of the day, we respect the Utah Jazz. They got a guy by the name of Luka Samanic that is really shooting the ball very well right now. And I think today, with him having over 20 points, several defensive stats, as well as some rebounds, I think he's going to be taken seriously from here on out. That may be somebody that no one knows, but next year, Luka Samanic is definitely going to be somebody that's on the map for the Utah Jazz. And Ochai Agbaji scored some in this game against Denver as well. Had a pretty solid game for himself. And, like I said, Chris Dunn, with the numbers that he's putting up, you just have to expect for him to have a all-star level game tomorrow too. The rhythm that he's in, it's not going to stop. We have to treat him like he's a dangerous guard in this league tomorrow if we want to win this basketball game. Unless they decide to play THT and take the ball out of his hands. But if he has the ball in his hands, we had better respect him. I'm telling you right now, because he's on a mission to show people that he's not just a role player. And that's what I've been seeing over the last couple of days. Since he played against the Lakers coming off the bench, I guess they decided to start him against OKC, and that's when he decided to only miss one shot. And then from there, Denver, he went to work on Reggie Jackson. I guess that's what I saw. I wasn't really certain the fullness of that, but the numbers tell you that he was helping himself and his team. And so that's really what it came down to. We just have to respect the Chris Dunn. Once a high lottery pick, has some high level talent, and we'll probably try to display it on the biggest stage tomorrow and try to upset the Los Angeles Lakers, try to keep us from having comfort within our situation. So I'm looking at Anthony Davis tomorrow. I'm looking at the fact that we have Mo Bamba to be able to call on. Hopefully coach gives him an opportunity, because I like him going up against guys like Azubuike a bit better than Wenyen Gabriel. And if we want to go with Wenyen Gabriel, we could play him at the four just fine. And I think we'll have the same effect. In fact, even better effect, given the fact that he fights so hard on the boards. So, I want to see that. And I've been calling on this over the last several days. I really want to see the Los Angeles Lakers continue to give Rui Hachimura more looks. He's just helping us too much to not increase his usage. I think he's a player who can really do some things in this league. And when you're talking about making us a dangerous team, you want to use the big weapon. I think about a guy like Tobias Harris in Philadelphia. I don't know if Rui Hachimura can develop into that, but that's kind of how I'm seeing Rui Hachimura's role on this team if we utilize him correctly. He's an offensive guy who can give you some mid-range play, kind of drive to the basket, use his big size to lay the ball up and things of that nature, and dunk the ball, obviously. And you want to trust him because he can potentially be able to hit free throws, maybe stretch the floor some, even though I think we ask him to shoot the three too much. But ultimately, Rui Hachimura's mid-range ability, I don't want to poo-poo that, and I don't want to get frustrated because he misses a few of them. He's a highly efficient mid-range jump shooter, and not a whole lot of guys have that in their repertoire. But if they do, they are usually wildly consistent and very dangerous for their basketball clubs. And given the fact that we have so many different things that we want to do, attacking from different spots, our superstars tend to want to shoot jumpers and stuff like that. I look at Rui Hachimura as just a better overall bet for some of those same angles that we tend to want to shoot from. So I think about some of those mid-range jumpers that Anthony Davis takes that often rim out and go the other way, or bronze jump shots that tend to just break off the side of the rim. I don't want to see those guys shoot those jumpers. I want to see Rui Hachimura shoot those jumpers because he's an actual jump shooter, and that's his functionality. And so that's my thing. It's like when I have people that can do that, why not diversify my offense a bit so that those players can get the looks that they need? That way, I think the fullness of our offense becomes a bit more unpredictable, and it should open up things for our superstars to be able to attack overall because they have a more dangerous basketball team. But you got to find a balance to be able to make sure that the pecking order makes sense just the same. You don't want Rui shooting more than AD, You understand what I'm saying? And that's also something I think we haven't found an understanding about yet, a balance to find both that, for which I'm saying about letting everybody shoot and get their looks, and then making sure that AD continues to be the focal point of the offense just the same. And we got to stop allowing AD to give himself excuses for not scoring a good bunch every night. He is too talented offensively to be satisfied with 15-point games when the team only wins by 3 and 4 points. If your talent can get you up to 50 and 60 points, then there should be no excuse for you to ever have under 25. And I don't think that him having defensive, responsibilities should allow him the excuse to not demand more from himself on the offensive end. I just don't understand how your elevator goes up so high, but can hover so low, and you be okay with that. I think at the end of the day, that's what needs to really kind of register, in my opinion. We always challenge people to be better. We always compare people to other people, but at the end of the day, my thing is, if you can go for up to all the way up to like 60 and 70 points consistently every night, and we've seen you do it for stretches at a time for a week, 2 weeks, where you get 57, 56, 43, 45, 44, and then want to turn around and give us 15. It's like, brother, I can't see that as anything less than you not demanding your best from yourself. And that's really what I have to say. And the fact that he can do so much on the defensive end is fine. That's no excuse for him not getting about 30 points every night, though. This is not. And so that's really what I want to say. I think that we've given him a lot of excuses. A lot of people have come down on him for this, but they haven't come down on him in such a way, in my opinion, that articulates it that way. I get it. You have a lot of responsibilities on the team. And that's just what it is. But when the team needs scoring and you're the guy who's capable of scoring the most, then we need you to be able to give us a lot. That's what it comes down to. You got to give us a lot, man. And maybe I'm asking too much, but if that's the case, then how come you can go all the way up like that sometimes? Like, that's the thing. If it's too much, it ain't that day or any of those days. What's the difference? And if I can't make any sense of that, then it just becomes frustrating. So that's my thing with AD, man. What his team needs is more from him. And I think it's okay to ask that of him, because you see it all the time. So here I am in a space where I'm like, all right. And then I shift my focus and say, Austin Reaves needs to continue to be empowered. I like how he play makes. I like how he can shoot, even though his jump shot wasn't as hot in the last game. Overall, he's a very efficient shooter, especially when he's getting fouled. Mid-range jumpers with the whistle called, he's some butter. Why not go to him more instead of some of the things that we're leaning on? Why not lean into the things that are most efficient for us? And if there's an answer for that, I would like to know what it is. Legitimately. Is there a reason for that? Maybe it is. Maybe there's a decoy pattern that we're trying to create to where we keep the defense guessing as they try to study our team. Maybe they think we're going to go to Malik Beasley and boom, we end up, unleashing an entire different thing in the playoffs. I'm open to that. I'm waiting for that. You know what I mean? That's my thing. At this point, it's like, okay, well, hopefully what we've been doing is just throwing everybody off. I'm open to that. Because one day someone's going to do that, win, and we're going to be like, oh, what a genius. Rope-a-dope style, Ali, whatever works. But just that you win is what we ask. That you win when it matters most. And it matters most, man. But we're weighing everything against what we have to do. And what that is try to survive a entire playoff run, whatever that's going to be. So while this game is a must-win, I think at the end of the day, you still want to make sure that you don't overrun AD and LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, and all the guys that are banged up. I think this roster, and I have faith in this roster, to say that I believe that it can win this game without starting all of those players, without giving all of those guys their full minutes. In fact, I think we're a better team overall when we give guys rest and allow more guys more opportunities, because I think we're so talented. that we can afford to let LeBron James sit and still go up against a team like the Jazz tomorrow and beat them by double digits, because that is ultimately the type of talent that we have. We've built a team to be able to do that. So that's my thing. It's like, I don't have to live and die with nobody's health issues or mistakes or none of that. We have the depth and the rotation possibilities to allow ourselves options that can defeat many opponents. Tall ones, small ball ones, fast, wing defenders, bulky, heavy dudes. We have the ability to match up with them, but we just have to be willing to. And I think that there's been an unwillingness over the last several days, just to zero in, to really kind of showcase all of the different possibilities that we can use to overpower teams, just simply overpower them. And so I understand sharpening weaknesses. I preach it every night. So if a guy's struggling, we definitely want him to get out of his struggles. But should we not lean in to understanding that other guys are struggling as well by not getting their looks while they're waiting for this individual to find his rhythm? And that goes for anybody and everybody as they're trying to get in rhythm. It's to make sure that you do enough to assure that your overall team is functioning as a machine, on one accord. And so that's what I like to see in the leadership that we talk about. Is kind of based on making sure that the team works as a functioning machine, in my opinion. Growing up on teams like the Spurs, they used to pass the rock around so much. It just makes me respect that type of thing, and that's what I want to see from my Los Angeles Lakers. And I think that's the type of pace the Utah Jazz are going to be throwing at us tomorrow. Something fast, something that's going to keep the ball popping a lot, transition buckets and things of that nature, athletic players that we're going to have to respect. Watching Lucas Shaman, this dude dunk from, in transition, two-hand jam, pretty strong. He can hit a bunch of threes and stuff like that. Baji, same thing. These guys are more athletic than you think. Dunn, he can rise. He can get off the ground. And so these are things that I understand. We're going to see these players tomorrow. The Utah Jazz, they also got a center. I wish I remembered his name, but it's a guy that they've used over the last couple of days that have done some good things. In fact, he made a pass that I thought was fantastic. I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but we're going to see him tomorrow. They're using him instead of Kessler, and he's playing behind Azubuike. Pretty solid dude. So, yeah, they got a nice team there, man. A really nice team there. Like I said in the previous video about the Jazz leading into the next matchup, the previous matchup with them, JTA and Damian Jones have been used properly with this team. Their coach has really done a fantastic job of just getting the most out of those guys. As I used to say, all you got to do is lob the ball to Damian Jones. He's one of the best guys in the air at his position. He's a Skywalker. We just never saw it. But he can do some fantastic things when you just lob him the ball. You put the ball way up. That's what he does, and we just never, ever did that. Not to mention that his three-point shot has been significantly better, obviously, playing for the Utah Jazz since we didn't have him shoot it at all. So you just got to give their coach credit for not only getting those guys over there and giving them playing time, but getting them enough playing time to get them in shape. And the stuff that JTA is doing, he just looks like a better player. He looked like a different person, to be honest with you. And watching the highlights of the previous matchup versus highlights of who he was with us, oh man, he's like in 20 times better shape. It's like he's been on a workout plan ever since he left the Lakers, and now he's just speed running and doing all types of pirouettes and making passes and all types of different things. Salute the Kobe minute. But you gotta give respect to the guys. Those were players who we saw struggle, who we deemed weren't very good, more or less. But when you work hard and you take care of yourself and you have a coach that believes in you and understands your game, you can get the most out of yourself. And I think we traded those guys to the right spot. And they may actually have a future in Utah, given the way they've been used. So, yeah, that's what I want to say about those dudes. Obviously, we've mentioned already that they were killing it on the offensive glass. And I'd imagine that they're going to want to continue that tomorrow, along with Azubuike and the other center guy that I just don't know his name, but definitely remember what I saw from his game. And look forward to seeing some more from him tomorrow. But the new kid on the block is Luka Šamanić. Luka Šamanić. We're going to know who that dude is from here on out. I'm sure of it. I think he used to play for the Knicks. I don't know how long he was there, but I saw his picture and it looked like he was wearing a Knicks uniform in the past. So that's somebody who the Jazz have just picked up along the way. And, it looks like they're doing things the right way, man. Their B team looks a lot better than Phoenix's B team, put it like that. And we're going to have to deal with them as they continue to add lottery picks to their situation. As I've told people, as soon as they get some real talent, and that's respect to some guys that they already got, but as soon as they get some real talent, they're going to be going crazy. I think they already got some pieces with THT and, of course, their all-star that they got, Lauri Markkanen, Kessler. I think Dunn is now a piece, Agbaji now a piece. So they got some stuff in place you should be excited about just in general. And, of course, all of the picks that they got from the Timberwolves just goes on forever. And so, yeah, that Jazz team, I think Danny Ainge is going to have them contending at some point. You heard it here first. I'm not certain if they're going to capture Larry O'Brien, but I do expect by 2029 they're going to be a real contender. If they continue to build in the way they are, yeah, absolutely. So that's where I'm at as it pertains to the Jazz. I know tomorrow is kind of a throwaway game for that team, particularly. Like I said, they're halfway to Hawaii at this point. You got to look at it like this. Their season's going to end in Los Angeles. They're going to be thinking about what goes on after the game more so than anything else. You talking about your season ending in L.A. at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon? The first thing they're thinking about is getting out of that locker room and probably getting to Santa Monica before the sun goes down or something. So we should probably be able to get a victory tomorrow. And, that's hopefully what we see, because we're obviously playing for something. We are trying to get not only out of the play-in tournament, but into the playoffs and hopefully beat whoever we see in that first round. And my gut is telling me, if we're lucky enough, we're going to see one of either the Kings or the Grizzlies. And those are young teams with bigs, physical bigs, real elite shooters. And, now I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen there. I don't want to overlook this game here, but I think at the end of the day, our fate is outside of our hands. It really is. The Golden State Warriors are going to tell the story with that situation. Now, there's an interesting thing going on. A couple teams lose or win. I don't know how it falls, but there's a chance that the Clippers could find themselves in the 8th spot, with us still being in the 7th spot, and we could have a play-in tournament matchup with the Clippers. I don't know if I should want that or not. It's Easter, so everybody goes crazy over here. You got to get used to that. I don't know if I should want that matchup with the Clippers and the Lakers, but what I can tell you is that's an opportunity for LeBron James to redeem himself really quickly in regards to what it is that we've been very sour about, which is how we approach that Clipper matchup. Not to say that I'm asking for us to match up with the Clippers, because if a team's beat you 11 times in a row, you probably should not want to see them. But if it happens to happen, I want to see this team approach that game differently. I'm not saying that they should go out and have confidence that they're going to be the better team on the floor, but that's a game I'm going to look at them and have a different eye about in regards to what the case may be. That's a very special matchup to me. That's what I'm saying. I'm not asking for that, but if it happens, I think I'll be very happy if we're there, because it's going to tell me what it is I need to know for real. I think that people have excuses about that Clipper game in regards to sleep and playoff positioning, and they could always go to that and say, if we really wanted to play against the Clippers, we could have played. If we really was serious about beating them that night, we would have given a different effort. If we really had rest, all that. And I'm saying, okay, cool. For the sake of everything that keeps us friends, I will buy that. But if we get another matchup with them, I'm going to be looking at everybody with a clean slate, and we'll go from there. But if they lose that game, I'm going to be in that space that I'm in right now as it pertains to that Clipper game without the excuses. And I'm not feeling too good about people going up against the Clippers at all. And so if we were to get eliminated by the Clippers, with that home court looking like our yellow floor, which it would be in that play-in tournament game, we're going to be bringing the pain. You already know. It's not going to be pretty. We're going to be having bad things to say about nice people. And it just is what it is. It just is what it is, man. You know, just like Stephen A. is going out saying you better not lose to the to the Donovan Mitchell-led Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm telling the Lakers, you better not lose a play-in tournament game to the L.A. Clippers with the floor being yellow. I'm telling you that right now. But, you know, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Clippers are likely going to stay exactly where they at, probably play against the Suns or play against the Kings or something like that. And we'll likely have to see New Orleans. And New Orleans is dealing with something. If I'm not mistaken, they're dealing with something. I think B.I. hurt something type of finger on his shooting hand or something. So that could be a killer for them. That's a killer for them. Also noteworthy, it is been confirmed that for the Memphis Grizzlies, their center will not be returning, Steven Adams. He's not going to play in the postseason at all. So that will affect us indeed if we stay in the 7th spot and happen to land with them. Definitely won't be dealing with no Steven Adams. So that's very good news. That's 2 front court players removed from that Memphis Grizzlies team. We're talking about Adams and Brandon Clark. I think that they're starting to get a little thin. They're getting a little thin. Now, I'm not saying that means much at all because they just picked up Lofton, gave him a 4-year deal, which I think is a fantastic contract. And he can kind of fill in for that. So they do have some size with Tillman and himself, and of course Jaren Jackson, who just scored 40. Kid's playing great. So they do have some front court help, but they definitely will not have that leadership and the size that ultimately Steven brings to the table. So I told him about that contract. That wasn't a good contract to begin with. And I like the player, but he's just way overpaid, man. But we'll see how it plays out. But he's out for the season. So at any rate, we'll keep an eye open for that because that'll determine how we match up against them. Of course, we do have Bamba back, so we feel a lot better about our situation. So, yeah, man. Utah Jazz, final game of the season, man. 82 games played, you guys. 82 games played. I don't think I've really put all that together as of yet. But it's been a very, very nice long season. I appreciate being able to do homework on all these games, follow this team all year long with you guys. And I appreciate everybody who's been rocking with me all season long. And, of course, we're going to continue to do what we do because we're not out of here just yet. We got playoffs to consider. But as it pertains to the regular season, this is the last pregame video of the season. And so I appreciate being able to do this. And, you know, it's been a nice journey. But the team has given us a lot to complain about as well as appreciate. And this has not been our most successful season thus far, but we still got a lot to do. And hopefully we can overcome our own tendencies. We've talked about them all year long, you know, and we've been proud of our team because we've seen them overcome. We're the first team since 1981, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I might be mixing 2 different stats together. This might be the first time any team has ever overcome a 2-10 start to ultimately have a positive record, to be over 500. The first team to ever do that. That's what that was. I was getting mixed up with a different stat. 1981 was the last time all 3 Texas teams didn't make the playoffs, but whatever. That ain't got nothing to do with us. The point is, that is an incredible feat for the LA Lakers to have overcome that 2-10 deficit or record, rather, having lost so many games. And, we were pitiful, man. We were absolutely pitiful. We understood exactly what we were dealing with. When we saw those games being lost and the fashion that those games were being lost, it became very clear to us that we had an uphill battle, but we turned it around. Somehow, guys really put on their thinking cap, so to speak, and just dug into what it is they needed to do to overcome those tendencies. And they dug in as a team and started to find their confidence. Guys started to get healthier. Because we didn't forget that we were missing a couple guys with injuries and stuff like that. Troy Brown and Dennis Schroeder started the season with a finger injury, that kind of thing. So it kind of left us. Bombo was out. So we had a lot of different rotation issues to start the season that ultimately got smoothed out over the next second set of dozen games. And so as that became the case, we were able to kind of get back into it. Made ourselves a 500 ball club. Lost some games in some very unfortunate fashions. We cussed each other out, the team, team told us they didn't necessarily appreciate that, proceeded to play a little better when we went on the road. Um, and we started finding ourselves in the East Coast road trip that I thought was really impressive. We won a lot of games. I don't remember what the record was, 5-2 or something like that, but we did really good in our road trip and kind of coasted. And then, of course, Bron broke the record. Congratulations to him still. And then from there, made the trade directly after that brought ourselves these young kids that just basically turned us into a contender overnight. We went from calling for Rob Pelinka's job, not knowing what the heck to think of his job, to just now wanting everybody to leave him alone and let him do his job. So congratulations to Rob Pelinka for turning it around and making us believe once again. Mistakes were made. We don't always know who to blame for those old mistakes, but I think a lot of trust was gained when the big trades were made here at this deadline. And I think we're a happy bunch. Now we just hope that our coach can overcome some of his rookiness to just let the team be its best self. And we'll see what happens. We believe in this team. That's what it really comes down to. I don't think it's a lot to be said for a team that comes out there and just does everything the best way they know how. And even though they didn't have everything that they needed to start the season, they still went out there with the continuity issues or the trust issues or the chemistry issues. They still went out there and performed. Health issues, guys not being there, they still went out there and performed. Half the year, Bron was carrying it without AD. And then when AD went down, he carried it without Bron. It's just, guys were doing what they had to do to sacrifice. And I see why they demand their respect. It's not just because of what they did elsewhere. It's because of the things that they've done here this season. Playing through injury, fighting through nonsense, listening to people make fun of players and stuff like that about our team and still managing to keep our head high. Sometimes we lost games in embarrassing fashion, but we came back and kept putting on the jersey and kept on fighting. And that's what I respect about the team, is the resiliency. As much as we talked about them, as much as we lost some, disappointing games, they still come back and shake it off and just keep playing. They just come back. Hey, we lost an disappointing game, whatever. Come back, beat the next team. And so that's what I like about this team. They don't really carry too much with them, and they just continue to fight against the odds, and that's why they're still in the mix. And so with teams bowing out like Dallas, I got to appreciate my team for not doing that. I got to look over and say, at least we not them. Honestly. And that's not something that I'm happy to say either, but at the same time, it's like we look at our team and we know that we've held our team accountable. But we also know that our team ain't the worst in the bunch, and we've done some good things. So balance is necessary, and we appreciate what we got. We also appreciate that it can get better. We believe that if they put in the work, they can improve. They don't have to settle for the mediocrity that people believe them to just simply be capable of. I think this team can overachieve. I think this team can beat the odds if it just continues to approach it the same way it approached that 2-10 deficit, with the intent of learning itself, overcoming its mistakes, and proving us naysayers wrong. That's what it has to be. Not just going out there tweeting about it, but going out there displaying that excellence that we have said that we want to see. I hear a lot of people talking about how Laker fans aren't appreciative of LeBron James, ain't showing him enough love and different this and that. But at the end of the day, we still want to see him perform. We want him to use that motivation that he may be getting from those haters and turn it into an opportunity for him to smoke a cigar with 2 trophies in his hand again, because that was a very triumphant moment. That felt like something that was worth remembering. That's like something we should want to revisit again. And the fact that we never got that parade, and the fact that we got another opportunity at a really good championship caliber team, that should be the motivation enough for a guy like King James to want to do it again, so that we can have that moment that was eluding us. I remember he said he wanted to go back and have a parade for the other championship. That's not how we do this. What we do is go out there and earn us another parade and then celebrate both of them then. That's how you do it, King James. And that's what we expect from the pinnacle, the greatest. And I don't care. Listen, I was listening to DTLF. He was talking about how guys compare LeBron James to Kobe Bryant. I've been doing that, but it's not because of any other reason. Kobe was who I grew up on. If I grew up in Chicago, I'd be quoting Mike and telling y'all about Mike and only Mike as it pertains to the greatness I know. If I grew up watching soccer, I'd be telling y'all about the great soccer player that I watch, Pele. And that would be all, I'd be telling you about his tendencies. I can only give you what I know. And I watched 20 years of Kobe Bryant. I cannot help that those 20 years of the greatness, that what I watched, the ups and downs of his career, the triumphs and mistakes that I watch in his career, is all that I can really reference when it pertains to what I know to be championship caliber killers. He's who I learned this from. And so when I say, I want LeBron to be like Kobe, this and this, I'm telling him I want him to have the traits of every great person that Kobe ever studied as well. Not just Kobe. You compare yourself to the people who understood what Kobe found out so that he could be as great as he was. That's what it's about. It's not about the messenger. It was about the method. It's about the practice of excellence and knowing what it is that we're doing, which is reaching higher pinnacles. And if you're going to be that pinnacle, let's not fake the funk just because everybody around us is faking the funk. Let's prove them unnecessary by proving ourselves to be capable of the greatness that we claim ourselves to be. I don't think King James can't reach the greatness that people say he wants to be. If they remove all the Nikes and remove all the money and you remove all the fame, you still got a basketball player that's basically can't be stopped. That's basically what it comes down to. But he doesn't put all of his effort into the X's and O's of the game because other things are prioritized. And that's not what I know. That's not the excellence I know. I watched Kobe go about it a different way and still come up with the same results. Came up with the same results. He got all the fame, international, got all the money, billions. It didn't have to go any way at all. It was just the path that man took, and it was the display that he showed us. So that's the one I know, and that's the one I think works. But Bron's way works for him, but then I look at the record, and I say his record don't work for me. I see greatness left on the table. I see opportunities where he could have champagne showers that were alluded to him. Sometimes it was because the other team was too good. Sometimes because he just didn't do enough. And somebody needs to tell him something else. Maybe they need to compare him to somebody other than Kobe so that it would stick in, so that it wouldn't be so offensive. But it shouldn't change the fact that the methods were necessary for LeBron James to actually reach the pinnacle that everybody just told us he was. They told us he was. And I'm not certain, now that I look at the world we're in regards to the NBA, I'm not certain that things were always on the up and up as they were. I know they weren't doing all kinds of weird stuff all the way up to this point to fudge the numbers so that now we have this and that. But they can't take away the fact that this dude can still do all these different things on the court. And I say I'm not mad at the player for the environment he grew up in. If they dumbed down the world around him and made it so that he couldn't compete properly, and then made it so that the culture around him was so that nobody should ever want to compete because everybody should be friendly, and so that they could blend off whatever money situations they can make off of that, because that's just a new thing. That's just a new trend. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just the times we're in. We're not bad boys no more. We want to be like Kanye now. Like, that was just the earth that's how it was spinning at the time. And the sports were just following that. So it's like, if I'm looking at it from a zoom out perspective, I just say, well, there were just some things LeBron missed. I'm not here to compare him to Kobe Bryant because that's the trend. That was fluff. They weren't actually doing that for real. They weren't comparing him to Kobe. They were trying to pin him against Kobe. They weren't trying to extract the things that Kobe was great at to put in LeBron. They were trying to pin them against each other so they can make money. I'm trying to extract the things that were great from Kobe so that LeBron could experience the championship moments that Kobe would have otherwise won if he was still here, to show him how to do it, to remind him of the things that he needs to be reminded of. I look and I remember in the All-Star game when Kobe was trying to get LeBron to shoot the ball over him. I'm defending you, but I want you to be aggressive. It's the same energy, man. It's the same energy. Forget all those flashing lights and the cameras and all that. We're just trying to play ball. We're trying to reach the highest level because we're capable of it. That's the energy, not the other stuff, because the other stuff is going to follow the greatness. It's the greatness that it's following. They are only looking at us because we're relevant. We're relevant because we can play ball, and that we play ball the best way possible. The best way possible so that they can continue to see the relevancy in what it is that we do. And so that's what I understood. And I don't even play ball, but I understood it. This was my role. This was my role. I was a part of it as a fan. And I understood and embodied the understanding from the sidelines. It's a spiritual understanding that winning is your duty. That's why I don't understand what Dallas is doing. Not to say that I don't see the chess piece in trying to preserve the 10th pick and not give it to the Knicks, because you already gave Brunson to the Knicks, so you certainly don't want to look like you're just empowering the Knicks with all of their assets, even though that's literally what you're doing. But nevertheless, it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, that's what Dallas is doing, fine, but that doesn't help Luka Doncic's career. And you say you're about him. Are you? If you're about him, then how is he going to be at his best without those playoff moments? He has to be able to compete to prove that he's as great as Larry Bird, to prove he's as great as Magic Johnson, to prove he's as great as LeBron James. How's he supposed to prove that if his organization is just bowing out, making him look like a quitter, like he cool with this, having him check out the first quarter of the game, like he's cool with not competing? How did we even get into an environment where this is necessary for players to get on teams so that teams could compete? I gotta lose and tell my fans that I don't care nothing about competing in order for us to mathematically be able to keep my pick, and all kinds of weird stuff that's ultimately going to probably end up getting your pick taken from you anyway because you did it this way. It's the culture and the environment. I don't blame the people playing the game. You know how they say, don't hate the player, hate the game? It's the game that I'm addressing. They just got to fix this. They just got to fix it. And for the time being, while it's not fixed, players got to work around it. And that's where I think the excellence and the attention to detail and the practice and all of the corny stuff that people don't want to do anymore comes in. Because even if they're rigging the games, you still got to be able to perform. Even if they're telling you got to get to the line, this, that, and the third, you ain't never going to get your calls. There are ways for you to bust their game up and mess their game up. And in some strange way, I think Mark Cuban actually showed us that. They wanted things to go a certain way. He just said, no, I'm not going to do that. And bust their whole thing up. Maybe that was the point. I don't know, but basketball players got to do that in their own way. They got to find a way to do that by overcoming what's coming their way in regards to those calls. It's like I said, halfway through the season in one game, you may not get all your calls. It may be a situation where every touch foul you do sends the other team to the line. And every time you get hit in the head, you just have to assume you got to make your layup because they're not going to call it. These are the type of things. All it is just increasing the difficulty on the game. You condition yourself for that if that's the game you're playing, and you get used to it. You know what I'm saying? If you know that's the rules before you get into the game, then you're not going to complain about it. And if that's the only way you ever play, you're certainly not going to complain about it. But that you be conditioned for it as if it's the only way you play is the only way you're going to win. You see what I'm saying? If you refuse to lose, then this is what's required. You can't complain about them hitting you on the head when you make a layup. You can't complain about you getting hit with touch fouls because you couldn't pop, they ain't going to allow you to defend properly. That's how you play. You got to find a way around that. That's the puzzle from which needs to be put together and put into a place from which you understand so that you can get the Larry O'Brien trophy. You see what I'm saying? You get the trophy when you overcome that level. It'll be damned if you don't. Some will say it's impossible. Somebody's going to defeat it, though. Somebody's going to be so great that they defeat it. Somebody's going to be so efficient that no matter how many times they get hit in the head, they don't need no calls because they're going to make all their shots. They're going to be getting clobbered, but they're going to work around it somehow, some absolute how. They're going to find a way. And that they do, that trophy's going to be so sweet for them. You see what I'm saying? Whatever it takes. Not to destroy the integrity of the game, because that hurts you. You see what I'm saying? Not to destroy the integrity of your team and do something, whatever it takes. Nah, a lot of times people take the wrong steps and end up messing up their own stuff. That doesn't get it done. That doesn't get what it takes done. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it takes don't mean messing up. It means being efficient. And so in the last game of the season, that's what I have to say, man. And the last game of the regular season after 82 games, that is exactly where my mind goes. Let's be efficient to close the season out. Not in ways that hurt us, like leaving people on the floor with 1 minute to go when they shouldn't be playing it back to back. That hurts us. But in ways that actually help our cause. You know what I mean? Like putting in the extra work, getting extra hours of sleep when necessary. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that really, really, really in detail leads to the other stuff that's successful. Whatever they may be, beyond my understanding for the NBA. Conditioning for your life as an athlete or as a coach or what have you, your role. I don't know. But that you do it with an attention to the details that lead to your success. And deem that worthy. Don't allow any cultures or any outside environments tell you that something matters more than being excellent within what it is that you're being represented and seen doing. Because that's what we're going to remember. While y'all faking the funk, we watching you fake it. While y'all rigging the game, we're watching you rig it. And you know what your name's attached to? That right there, Adam Silver. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, nah, don't let people let their greed mess up your image. LA. Let's get back to what matters on the floor. And that will lead to the success we're looking for. So that's what I'm hopeful I see. Maybe I'm naive that I think people will put down their dollars and pick up the understanding of basketball, but I think it'll just beget them more excellence, which will beget them more dollars. I truly believe that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they can make more by just rigging the game, but not for very long. Because people like myself are going to see that, hate it, and not be interested. And others will follow. And I think that's the problem. So I think longevity and integrity go hand in hand. I think detail-oriented and success and excellence and appreciation for excellence go hand in hand. And I think you should just allow certain conversations to be had. People are going to always compare athletes. People are going to always compare eras and teams and stuff like that. You just got to let that be. You can't put so much of an emphasis on the importance of those conversations if you're the league itself. You know what I'm saying? You can't put such an emphasis on those barbershop conversations that you allow the integrity of your league to be molded by the needs to feed those scenarios and narratives. I think the league has actually bought into that bullcrap because it actually makes a lot of money around them. So they think they have to be of it. No, that's the circuits going on around you. You still gotta be you. And I think that's what's going on in the league right now. They gotta find a way to distance themselves from the noise that makes money around the league, but should definitely not pierce the league's armor itself. And it has. It's all in there. And that's the problem, I think. So, man, I appreciate everybody letting me rant as I do. This could be a later video. It could be something entirely different. But at the end of the day, we're preparing for the Utah Jazz. And I think when we see the Utah Jazz, we'll understand some variation of what it is that I was talking about here in regards to just doing things correctly. If we pay attention to what it is we've learned, we'll know that they're a good offensive rebounding team. We'll know that Chris Dunn is probably going to play like an all-star. We'll know Luka Shamovic is probably going to shoot the ball very well tomorrow. We'll know that Kalina Azubuike, I don't think his name is Kalina, but it might be. But whatever his last name is, Azubuike, I believe it is, he's going to be a big guy that's going to rebound the ball and block some shots. You probably shouldn't test him. Probably shouldn't try to dunk on him. That kind of thing. We're going to know these things because we've done homework, we've prepared, and we understand what it is we're going into. We're not going in blind. We're not looking at it from a maybe because last week we saw him do this because this week he's going to do the same thing. No. Because if we go into it like that, we're going to expect Chris Dunn to come off the bench and he's going to smoke us to the starting lineup. It's a different day. So we're going to pay attention to the Utah Jazz as it pertains to who they were when they played against the OKC Thunder and who they were when we played against the Denver Nuggets. That's how you prepare. That's how you really know what you're supposed to do. And I assume the Lakers already have all that in place. But sometimes when we see the team, they don't look as if they do. It looks like they haven't done any homework at all. And that's very frustrating as a fan. So that's my rant for the evening. I hope everybody enjoys the game tomorrow at 12:30. 12:30 in the afternoon. It's an early one. And this video will be left here for you guys to watch. It's long as heck, so I don't expect everybody to sit through the entire thing. But I just wanted to get this rant out, as I always do. And I appreciate everybody for rocking with BDF 44. I'm out.